Welcome to Unity Center of Peace. My name is Mary Shapiro, and I will be our guest speaker and musician today. If you've got a candle, please feel free to light that. You also might want a piece of paper and pencil for an opportunity, if you would like to. We'll be having a meditation to think of times of joy in our lives, possibly to the point of tears. So I'll start with an opening song, and then Neil will take it from there. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see babies crying, I watch them grow. They'll know much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are almost like the faces of the people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, how do you do? They're really saying I love you. I hear babies crying, I watch them grow. They'll know much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Thank you, Mary. And I'll do the statements and then we'll play the daily word and we're back to Mary again. So today our vision statement is the same that it is every weekend. You might have recorded it in your memory. Let's see. Our vision statement is that Unity Center of Peace is a thriving spiritual community offering love, peace, and support to all. Sound familiar? I'm sure it does. Our mission: we spread the unity message by opening our doors and our hearts to the healing and expansion of personal and global consciousness. Our prosperity statement: we believe that true prosperity is a sense of fulfillment in every area of our lives, our minds, our bodies, our emotions, and our circumstances. We are richly, bountifully, and beautifully prospered in every good way. So it is, and so we let it be. And we close the beginning statements with our statement of peace. We stand for peace. We stand for love. We stand for forgiveness. We honor the many names for God, the many paths to God, the many ways to worship God, for there is only one power and presence of God, and God loves each one of us equally and uniquely. We urge all nations, their leaders, and their people to turn to God by whatever name and to pursue peace, for peace honors the God of all faiths. We stand for peace in our lifetime. And now I'll get my phone, a little tradition that Reverend Terry started, and turn up the volume because it might be important for you to hear. Today's word is healing.
Sunday, November 16th, 2025. Healing. Today we affirm, Taking good care of myself supports my healing. And our message reads, sometimes it's hard to say no to friends, family, work, church, or volunteer organizations I care about and want to serve. But when I am overextended and depleted, I don't do my best, and I may put my emotional, physical, or mental health at risk. Taking on too much and saying yes to every request may be a sign there is something deeper within me that is out of alignment and in need of healing. Perhaps I am feeling fear of judgment or reluctance to disappoint someone. I heal when I slow down, pray, and welcome God's grace. I treat myself gently and make time for relaxation a priority. Secure in divine love, I know when to say yes, or for my well-being, to kindly but confidently say no, not this time. Our Bible verse for today is from Psalm 103, 2-3. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and do not forget all his benefits, who forgives all your iniquity, who heals all your diseases.
And now we return to the service with Mary Shapiro.
So the talk today is going to be about joy. And thank you, Neil, so much for sending out a reminder to people to think about a story of joy, because I love to learn from you guys too. So I'm going to be sharing a couple stories of joy. I'm going to be sharing some songs. Then we're going to go into a meditation time. Music will take us in. Music will bring us out. And then I get to hear what y'all have to say about your stories of joy. So this is a song I wrote, and the original words went like this. Joy, 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 hallelujah, joy, 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 hallelujah, joy, joy, joy. You can't take that away from me. About choice for our emotions. But I've changed the words like I often do in different songs. And I wanted this to be one that we could all call in whatever we needed. So maybe we need hope. Maybe we need peace. Maybe we need love. Maybe we need forgiveness. And whatever we need, we can sing that. So it becomes a prayer for me. So it goes like this. Joy, 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 come into me. Joy, 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 flow through me. Joy, joy, joy. I am joy and I am love. Love, 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 come into me. Love, 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 flow through me. Love, love, love. I am love and I am hope. Hope, 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 come into me. Hope, 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 flow through me. Hope, hope, hope. I am hope and I am peace. Peace, 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 come into me. Peace, 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 flow through me. Peace, peace, peace. I am peace and I am joy. Joy, 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 come into me. Joy, 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 flow through me. Joy, joy, joy. I am joy, oh yes I am. So I'm going to share about 7 short stories of joy. Some of these stories of joy actually came to tears. So the title is Tears of Joy. So what is a tear? A tear is something that is water and a couple other proteins, and it actually has 3 purposes for humans. It has 2 purposes for other mammals. Lubrication, so your eyes don't get too dry. You got to be able to see through your eyes, and if they're dry and crusty, it's hard to see. So lubrication, protection, in case something comes into your eye, smoke or stick or whatever, you need to protect your eye. And then the third thing for humans is to show emotion. And that's actually a useful thing that has been shown to, when someone is crying, it makes connection. We naturally connect in either a positive or negative way because we know that that person is experiencing pain. So it has been, research has shown that actually women cry more than men. Surprise! Because there's something called prolactin that women have 60% more of, which is actually in our tears. So that might be one reason. And then there's that thing called testosterone, which also men have more of, which stops tears. So that's about tears. So tears of joy, I don't know if you've experienced it, but for me, sometimes I'm so happy that I start to cry, which seems really weird and inexplicable. So I will share a couple stories, and then we will have meditation and a chance for you to share your stories when we come out. So the first story I would like to share is from when I gave a presentation for a proposal for a job at the hospital. I'm a certified music practitioner and I need to get some contracts. And I had done my entire practicum at this hospital in Fauquier County in Warrenton. And I was all nervous, and I had tried to get an appointment with the CEO because everybody said, talk to the CEO. And the CEO eventually put me off to human resources. I was all nervous. I had handfuls of people from around the planet praying for me. So I went in and I gave this presentation, and actually she was late. And so I got some extra time to go out into the garden right next to the hospital. And there, lo and behold, was something that always brings me joy, a dog. Scott was walking his dog, and I got some joy from that dog, and I talked to Scott, and for whatever reason, I gave him my business card. I generally don't do that. I went in and gave the presentation, and it went really well. One of the things that brought me joy was the woman had her dog with her in the office, which was great. So it went really well. It was very short. She said, you really should talk to the CEO. And I said, great idea. She actually sent me to you. And then the HR person said, well, let me present it to her then, which was fabulous. So as I'm leaving, I am practically laughing because I had been so nervous, and I had this great release. And I'm walking down the hall, and I'm like giggling, and I go outside, and I just realized that I'm in the garden again. And so from that time to the next time, from the time of nervousness and nervous tears to happy tears, was practically like 20 minutes, very fast. The other miracle about that is that gentleman, Scott with the dog, actually called me and hired me. So little miracles about that story that brought me lots of joy. A second joy story has to do with a gentleman. I was playing at an assisted living center, and this gentleman, whose name I found out was Sam, lived at the rehab center and showed up front row, sat there very stoic. Didn't laugh at my jokes. Well, not everybody does. Didn't, even make contact with the people around him, just looking at me, kind of observant. Didn't fall asleep, but very stoic. So at the end, I pack up and I get into my car and I drive across a couple parking lots to play at the assisted living. And I get unpacked there and I look in the back row, and there's Sam again. He was in a wheelchair, so he had to have somebody help him get all the way across to the assisted living. And he had come again. I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So afterwards, I'm talking to a gentleman and we're playing Heart and Soul on the piano, and there's Sam. He comes up and he's politely waiting. And he wants to take a picture of me. And I'm like, okay. And he's still, very calm and just kind of introduced himself. And then he looked up and he said, "You made me cry." And I said, "Excuse me?" And he said, "The music was so beautiful. The music was so powerful that you made me cry." And I said, "Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's powerful for me too." And he had this hat on his lap, U.S. Air Force. He happened to be in the U.S. Air Force band. And he had this hat on his lap and he handed it to me, and I took it and I said, "Wow, that's really nice." We talked about him being in the band, and I went to hand it back and he said, "No, it's for you." So that's the story of Tears of Joy from Sam. Tears of joy from my Aunt Vicky. Aunt Vicky lives in California, and I was asking her about this yesterday. Aunt Vicky is a Christian who follows the Bible. And I said, "So what does joy mean to you?" And she said, "Well, Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 10, the joy of the Lord is my strength." And I said, "Wow, that's a really pretty verse. The joy of the Lord is my strength." And Nehemiah was one of the prophets that they had to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. And so they used music actually to help them with building walls and being strong. And the joy of the Lord was their strength. So personal story from Vicky was her son Daniel, who is so giving, she says. And Daniel's now 54 years old. And she said, when Daniel was born, the only thing I wanted to do was hold him. And the only thing I could do was cry. Tears of joy. My friend Jean, who's a Presbyterian minister with Earth in Hands, is her ministry. She was sharing a story with me with a song of "Water the seeds of joy and tend to your tears." And she shared a story of how she was in an office, business office, and she broke down into tears. And the person that was there, instead of handing her a Kleenex or instead of changing the subject or whatever, just sat there and was present with her and let her cry her tears of pain. And Jean said, "I don't know what to do." And in the middle of that mess, she realized, I don't have to do anything, that God is right here in the middle of the mess. And she said, God met me right where I was. And that was joy. She also gets joy from her fiance, Paul, who shared the story of his soul name is Wild Owl. That's his spirit name, because a barred owl has come to him in many different ways and times. And he was out in Northern California for a retreat in these beautiful ancient redwood forest. And he's like, "Why aren't you welcoming me?" He didn't get a sense of welcome. And he usually does when he's in the forest. And he heard the forest say, "What the F are you doing here?" And Paul's answer was, "I want to write. I'm a writer. I want to write." And the forest said, "Wild owl, all you have to do is write. And the only one you have to write for is me." Paul is now writing his second novel. And he said that this solstice ceremonies with the barred owls and getting ready to go on this vision quest and all of this nature coming to him through all of his different senses brought him tears of joy. He said, "I had tears of joy when I realized my call, that we are all led to something. I don't have to worry about what others think. It's so powerful when I let go of all the constructs. I let it go. I let it flow. I connect with who I am and who I am meant to be. How can I not cry in joy? When I talked to my friend Julie, who's a wellness manager, she said, I'm not even sure if I experience joy. I feel happiness sometimes, but it's fleeting. But I think I feel more satisfied or content. And for me, those are my goals. I'm not sure what joy is. So when I asked her to tell me a story of joy, she remembered her son Daniel, one of 3 sons, who's been going through a lot of trauma right now with his children and the mother of his children. And she remembered when he was 4 years old and he went to visit his dad, and she was pregnant with her 3rd child, Matthew, and she just couldn't stand it. She was like, I need to see my baby. I need to see Daniel. Where is he? Please, please send him back to me. And she was in the airport, and there was Daniel, little 4-year-old Daniel, running up to her, and she said, I couldn't stop crying. I couldn't stop crying. Those tears of joy, relief, contentment. So, Jeff, do you have a story that you would like to share about joy?
Well, apparently I do.
He gets a sneak preview before the rest of you.
Yeah. And Mary asked me, had I ever experienced excessive joy? And there was one time that our dog, not Mary's, mine, but a different situation, had 8 Irish setter pups. And we took them up to an open field to give them some exercise. Beautiful lawn at Principia College. And we took them out of the car and put them out on the lawn. And then I lay down on my back on the lawn, and these puppies just charged and bounced all over me, and I couldn't stop laughing. It was so wonderful. They were licking my face. They were jumping all over me, and I was feeling their joy. And that was really great. And again, we go on the theme of dogs bringing us joy. That's it.
Thank you, Jeff. Research has actually shown, I'm not exactly sure how they got this research, but when you look into your dog's eyes, or maybe your cat's eyes, or maybe your cow's eyes, or your sheep's eyes, and they know you and you know them, there's already that relationship there, that there is a dopamine release, a chemical oxytocin dopamine release of which is associated with relaxation and joy. So the last sharing that we have before we go into meditation is an introduction to a song. And I will share this from Miriam Therese Winter is her name. And how do I share screen? Thank you for your patience with my technology. After this, we'll go straight into a song and into meditation, and then a song will take us out of meditation. So please get yourself relaxed and comfortable. Can you hear that?
I entered the Medical Mission Sisters to be a doctor, okay? A medical doctor, not a PhD doctor, a medical doctor, to go to Africa and to do healing work. And I was assigned to study music because it was on the verge of Vatican II. We were a liturgical community, a singing community. We wanted to do it right, and I lost the toss, okay? I was assigned, got my degree from Catholic University, and was assigned to teach the novices. So you might as well have just shot me right there because my life was over. I was so depressed. I had a degree in organ, but we didn't own one. SATB corral, but there were no TBs. It was hootenanny time. I said, my God, they spent all this money educating me. I should be able to at least do something. Picked up a guitar, learned 3 chords, and not too many more since then, and sang just because I needed to sing. Joys Like the Rain was sung into being at the lowest point of my existence, really. I thought I was not going to make it through. I had made my final vows and I was screaming to God, how could you do this to me? You know, I gave you my life and it's over. I'm miserable. I'm stuck with the novices. They tried to fire me. Novices firing me because I was irrelevant. Of course I was. I was teaching Gregorian chant. It was over. You know? I had this guitar. It was raining. And I started to sing straight out, I Saw Raindrops. And then when it came to the end, bit by bit, and I said to God, look, you got me here, and if you want to keep me here, you got to figure this out. The incredible thing, my friends, is this. The one thing I entered the Medical Mission Sisters for that I didn't want to teach, okay? The last thing on earth I wanted to do. I'm not teaching, I'm being taught every step of the way, okay? Anywhere I've gone around planet Earth, Joys Like the Rain has gotten there before me. Thanks to folk like you in diaconal missions and missionary work, ministries, going out and getting people to sing songs and images and realities of faith. Thank you for that. So if you can...
I saw raindrops on my window. Joy is like the rain. Laughter runs across my pane, slips away and comes again. Joy is like the rain. I saw clouds upon a mountain. Joy is like a cloud. Sometimes silver, sometimes gray, always sun not far away. Joy is like a cloud. I saw Christ in wind and thunder. Joy is tried by storm. Christ asleep within my boat, whipped by winds, yet still afloat. Joy is tried by storm. I saw raindrops on the river. Joy is like the rain. bit by bit the river grows, till all at once it overflows. Joy is like the rain, and joy is tried by storm. Joy is like a cloud. Joy is like the rain. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Thank you. So now, one of the favorite parts for me of this wonderful community is hearing your insights and thoughts. And Gloria, you get to go first if there's something you wanted to share.
Okay. I think what came up for me was a time that I witnessed my son, who was at the time 3 years old, I think. And he said, he held out his hand and he had picked up a toad. I think it was a toad or it was a worm. I'm not sure what it was. I think it was a toad. And he said, Mom, look, it's tickling my hand. And I felt joy watching him experience that. I guess that's my experience. I don't know.
I think that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Do you like to, anyone would like to raise your hand and comment or share a personal story? Neil?
Yeah, I'll get it out of the way. Tears of joy. I wrote down several things. I'm glad you had several stories, but the group knows that I tear up easily even watching cartoon movies. And Jesse will look at me like, "What planet are you from?" and she'll roll her eyes when I'm watching these cartoons over and over again, Moana, Frozen, whatever. It's like the kid in me can't can't deal with the grown-up world, you know. So, but I remember tears of joy when my son and my daughter were born in the delivery room. That was incredible. And tears, other tears came later on in life with those two, but I'm not sure that the word joy was involved. um, what else did I write? When I taught at the VA hospital, teaching meditation, a lot of people coming in were in wheelchairs. That brought me joy, not necessarily tears of joy, but I remember one time tears of laughter because one of the guys that was sitting in a wheelchair, two people over, we had maybe 15 people in the meditation room, started snoring as loud as possible. It was so loud that everybody was cracking up and we didn't even wake him up. So, and then, you know, the time, Jeff, that we did the drumming, oh, that was great at the hospital. What was the name of that hospital again? The old campus? I can't remember. You just muted. It was
Apparently, okay, there we go. Walter Reed.
Walter Reed. Yeah, Jeff invited me in on, and I think we did a couple of them. I don't know, maybe there was one that I remember, but he brought all the drums, and we worked with some of the ministers, and they brought in people with PTSD or traumatic brain injuries, and we drummed with them. That was incredible. What else? Okay, I have one or two more. Oddly enough, my surgery, my heart surgery, when I went in for prep, and the guy was shearing my chest, you know, like I felt it's like shearing season. I was very joyful, and I was open to whatever the outcome would be. And when I
Wow.
woke up, there were tears also, but not necessarily of joy. I
Great.
said, you know, I was hoping to go home. I not this home. So yeah, there's
Thank you.
a whole
Wow,
bunch.
you know, and it is fascinating for myself, and I'm not sure about the research as far as tears and tears of joy and tears of sorrow being so close. It's just fascinating. Like at a funeral, something will happen and everyone will start laughing, right? That edge, that real edge of contrariness between our extreme emotions. Thank you for sharing that. And it made me remember actually a story that Joan told me, who's dealt with a lot of people at end of life, a lot more people than I have, and actually been with them when they passed, died. I can use the word, the D word, right? When they died, that for many of them, there's a single tear. And there's really no explanation for that. But that was her experience that she wanted to share, that in death, a single tear. Thanks for sharing, Neil. Anyone else? Frank.
A few times during my life, I doodled this picture of uh, a cabin or a house on one mountain on this side with trees and a road coming up to it, and then a view of the ocean and another mountain over here. And I didn't get why I did it probably 3 or 4 times. The last time I did it, I figured out what it was. I was actually there. I was in Hawaii in a workshop, and I got there late, so it was dark. They dropped me off, and I just went and got my room. Woke up the next morning and walked out to look, and here it was. The trees in the house over here. I'm looking out over the ocean, the sun, which was there, birds were there, and a mountain. And I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm going, oh my God. And my legs got weak. And I just had to sit down. And, uh, and then I thought back, and those were all times that I drew it before were times that I was going through challenges.
Mm.
And I just got it as a sign that I'll be okay. So yeah, I'm feeling it now. So
Yes. 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 And the power, thank you. That's such a powerful story. And not just the story, but your willingness to be present. And so many people that I've talked to about this question, it's like when I'm truly present to my senses, to what I see, to what I smell, to what I hear. My friend Annalisa was like, she heard the story of a woman who started to cry when she was nursing. And Annalisa started to cry because she could remember that time when she was nursing her children. So that connection of not only to your own memory, but our ability to connect to other people. Powerful. Thank you, Frank.
Okay.
Um, this is not tears because I have a weird relationship with tears. I I I express happiness in a lot of different ways, but it's never been tears.
Hmm.
In fact, if it's right, if it starts to happen when I'm happy, the association with not feeling happy with tears
Hmm.
comes so much. Um, so what I like, the moments of joy that I want to talk about now are when I was sitting calmly at the beach,
Mm.
letting the waves lap over my legs, and people say, I wonder how Zach experiences the ocean. Well, it touches me right there.
Mm.
And I've written poems about it,
Oh,
but sometimes I feel like I can't even describe it to people. But one time I was sitting there doing exactly that, and this little girl threw her hands up in the air and smiled. And I'm like, she gets it. I've never seen her before, but she gets it.
nice.
Cool.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Well, I guess I will say something too. I'm not a person of extreme emotion. I'm like Zach. Um, uh, I don't cry for joy or even cry for sadness that much. Um, but there are times I can just use some words that make me joyful. And then maybe I can think of a story. Thanksgiving. Most people see Thanksgiving as a time, oh, Thanksgiving, it's a lot of work and my family argues and all. For me, Thanksgiving was always a whole lot of people who had a whole lot of diverse philosophies and opinions that came together in love. And after the meal, we would, it might be 25 people. We'd play games, we'd laugh. And to me, that's joy. If I'm laughing, that's joy, and that's what I think of. Um, I think of I think of nature when you think of joy. Just these little teeny things that you witness that you just had to be there at that second to see. If you weren't there right then, you would have missed it. And it just that, I can feel that whatever you want to call it, joy, peace, more than contentment, but that there's a connection, I think, is what makes it joyful. And I think in general, joy is when something is different than your expectations for that day, that time, that interaction, and that you're surprised by something, right? That's to me, that's joy. So when someone does a kindness that was unexpected, I feel that joy. I feel that connection that I was talking about. Uh, I think it's anytime you're surprised, in a positive way. To me, that's the feeling that I associate with joy. I tried to think of a specific thing. There's lots of specific things with Zach when he was young. like Gloria was talking about, where I was anxious for him when he had to do things, and he was always somebody that liked to speak to the, from a stage, basically. He liked an
You and me.
audience.
You and me, Zach.
That's right. He liked an audience. And I remember once, this is an aside, we were at my uncle's funeral, and Zach barely knew him because I think he was about between 2 and 3 years old when my uncle passed.
Mm.
And when the preacher came out, he said, "Isn't anybody going to introduce him?" Like, ladies and gentlemen, the preacher, and so that's the way he always was. But he wanted to do these things that I thought, can he do them? And he more than surprised me. He was asked when The Lion King came out to be a docent for the little lion, the little cub that they were taking from this. They wouldn't do something like this nowadays, but they were taking it from theater.
Random kid,
Some random kid from theater to theater when it was premiered, and they had this little lion cub that they would have there. Now it would be considered very cruel. So they took this little cub to the Reston zoo. I don't know if anybody remembers the little Reston Zoo down there. Yeah. And so on the weekends, people would come out and see it. And so Zach would stand by and tell all the history of lions and, whatever, answer people's questions and everything. And, I thought, can he do this? I said, yeah, he's in his place. He once asked if he could do a vaudeville show at a talent show when he was, young. And I said, "Well, what are you going to do?" He said, "I'm just going to get up there and tell some jokes." And he got one of his puppets, and he had a little back and forth with the puppet, "Hey, did you know about that?"
I'm glad that you talked about the nature stuff at first, so people are aware that you do have other sources.
I do have other sources of joy, but so I think it was when I was anxious about something, my expectations were, whatever, and I'm surprised. I shouldn't be surprised, but surprised by the outcome, and that's where I get a joy. So yes, I had lots of little things like that, and I remembered the first thing I remembered was one day it was very, very cold outside, and there was wetness. I got to get in my car really early to go to a church thing, and there was a little bird, and his feet were frozen to the driveway.
It was around Christmas.
It was around Christmas.
No.
And I didn't know what to do. I said, "Well, I can't put water on because that would injure. I'm sure that would injure his feet, And so I put like a little towel on his feet, and I put my hands on his feet, and finally he came apart from the thing, and I wrapped him up, and I took him in the house and put him in a box, and put a little thing of water there, whatever he might need. And then I went on my way, and I fully expected him to be dead when I came home.
Mm.
But there he was chirping, and he flew up, and he flew over on top of my light fixture, and I couldn't get him down and everything. So that was a real joyful thing. I was like, yay! So anyway, those are all my stories, and I took more time than I should have.
We're still here, and many of us are smiling. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Zach. Thank you, Zach, for bringing so much joy to Miss Jody and to everyone who meets you. Jane, please share.
Well, I don't have any real specific stories that I can remember, but Jody really clicked with things. It's the unexpected things that you don't expect that all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow. But the one thing that sort of consistently does is when I see a gorgeous sunset. And it doesn't bring me to tears. I may have, but I don't remember. But I just feel this infusion of joy. It's beautiful. And nature will do that for more. Since I don't have pets or dogs, it will do that. And just hearing you guys' stories, I'm feeling joy for you. It's really cool. So thank you.
I can see that in your face, Jane.
Oh.
Thank you.
And now Leon, come on, Leon. You're the only one left.
Well, I don't have as good as stories, but something that fits in with a joyful surprise was when I retired. The company gave an early out, so they were trying to sweep out all the old guys. It wasn't just for me. And uh, what the surprise was is one of the offices that I was working in closed the office for the entire afternoon, which was unheard of. They reserved uh, Kilroy's, bought all the drinks and everything, and everybody's gathered around and said nice things about me, even when they were saying embarrassing things about me.
Oh,
And well, I was already pretty happy to begin with, and they hit all 5 love languages. So,
nice.
and it was very unexpected. So that was something that stood out.
Right? Nice connection, right? It's nice to be celebrated. So we get to
Yeah.
celebrate Neil tomorrow, and it was my birthday yesterday. And I just have one more story that I wanted to share because it's one of my favorite stories. Um, that My friend Jackie wrote to me last night and said, my Aunt Jackie passed away this week. She was 100. So we're driving up to Connecticut tomorrow, be back Tuesday. Sorry, I can't get together with you. Happy Mary Day. And I said, oh, my words to your heart and those who loved her, are you her namesake? Yes, she was incredibly loving. I like to think that she and my mom and my grandma Bessie, their mom, are hanging out together right now and beyond happy to be reunited. So that made me think of a story that my mom told, and I think that her brother, Father Jim, he was a priest. So her brother, Father Jim, not to be confused with her father, whose name was Jim, or my brother, whose name was Jim. Anyway, my mom would tell a story about a little kid's birthday. And this kid was turning 5. And she was waiting for her friends to come. And she was looking out the window, kind of kneeling on the couch, right? Looking out the window. And the first friend came. And she ran out the door and they held hands and they jumped up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. They were so happy. And they both ran back inside and waited at the window. And they did this for the second person who came. And they ran outside and they jumped up and down, up and down. And then they went back inside and they waited at the window. And so that last person who was last and who was like sad to be late was greeted with this whole group of little 4 or 5-year-olds running outside to put arms around each other and dance and jump up and down. And that, she said, is what her vision of heaven is. Lots of joy, lots of jumping. So we have a song and then a blessing. And Jeff, did you want to say something? I see you raising your finger.
Well, you wanted me to tell my story last, I believe.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Obviously I'm a musician, and one of my favorite composers is Ludwig van Beethoven. What you may not know is that he went through a lot of child abuse. He was an alcoholic. He was beaten by his father, and he went into depression and great despair. He went to a bridge and was just about to throw himself off the bridge and commit suicide, and something stopped him, and he went home and composed a sonata, piano sonata, that's called the Moonlight Sonata. And every time I hear that, there's just a point in it that just fills me with great peace and joy. And had he given in to the despair, I would have never heard that, and millions of others would have never heard it. And then the one that touches me always, and again, because of this child abuse, he became deaf. His father actually damaged his ears, and in his later years, he could not hear. And yet, well, he could not hear with his ears, but he heard music far more beautiful than what we have ever heard. And he composed his Ninth Symphony. And the fourth movement of the Ninth Symphony has been nicknamed Ode to Joy. And there's a point in that I cannot hold back the tears, knowing that he never heard it and I get to hear it.
Thank you. We are all going to hear it right now.
Or soon.
I know that this community is based on our sharing. So if you have talents to share monetarily as well as with your time, uh, you can do that through the links that Neil sends out. Thank you so much for coming today. Are there any announcements before I give the final blessing?
Yeah, I have one to share. This was part of the celebration yesterday. That's their puppy who's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then later on, they had another shot of her just threw her snout right on top of my lap and was sleeping.
Nice.
So she blessed me, and the dopamine flowed throughout the room. And I will tell you that Bill Wilson, who was our founder, he had us do a thankfulness journal way back when. And anytime you're feeling depressed or down, I used to write TYG, thank you God, and just every day for little things. So every time you think that there's an abundance of evil or that you're not good enough or something's not right in your life, I just have volumes of those thankfulness journals that I take out to remind me of all the things that I was thankful. I, you know, I just even write an email down. Thank you for that email, or thank you for Leon's talk, or, or just, thank you for this congregation. And I'm so grateful that we spend Sundays together because you are the glue in Unity Life Center and Unity Center of Peace. And we've been together for so many years, so I'm just very grateful for everyone. So thanks, Mary, for the opportunity to ramble.
Thanks be to all. So this is our closing blessing, and then we'll sing Let There Be Peace on Earth. Thank you. Love go before you, leave peace behind you, send angels to guide you on your left and your right. Great Father above you, gentle Mother below you, will teach you and show you the sacred in all. If you see with God's eyes, hear with his ears, when you touch with God's hands, she will calm all your fears. Open your mind, help your heart understand the sacred in all. So love go before you, leave peace behind you, send the angels to guide you on your left and your right. Great Father above you, gentle Mother below you, will teach you and show you the sacred in all. Will teach you and show you the sacred in all.
Thank you, Mary, for and more.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyful vow, to take each moment and live each moment with peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Thank you, Mary. And can I close with the prayer of protection,
Yes, please.
as we normally do on the weekends and during the week too, when we're not around together? The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next weekend, same time, same station. Zoom in for our friend. It's uh, on the newsletter. And what's his name? Anybody remember who's speaking next week?
Who's your cue this week?
Norm.
Norm, that's right.
We
Norm.
haven't seen him in a while. And then there's another person some of us know on a personal level. He speaks after Norm.
Yes.
Do you know his name?
Leon.
Yeah, Leon.
Uncle Leon. Jerry, hello.
Leon's in that corner.
Okay.
Whatever.
And now I will stop the recording.
Thank you. Hey, Zach, do you have any joy